So it's great to be here with George, the future Fox, today. So, George, it's lovely to see you. I hope you're doing well.
Doing very good, thank you, Robert.
I suppose the first question has to come from the name. Where does the future come from?
The future, it kind of organically came to me. I mean, there's always a future. That's the thing. We're constant. We're not going away. We're not going anywhere, because tomorrow is always the future. So that's what we are, and we're going to take over.
Okay, take over. That's a big statement, isn't that? What does that mean, take over?
I mean, I'm in this game to become a world champion. I'm not here for anything less. I expect high things of myself. My team expects high things of me. I know what I'm capable of. So now it's just about bringing all those pieces together. You know, staying consistent, having that momentum, training hard in the gym, ticking every box, and going on to conquer what we believe we're capable of.
So you're now 4-0.
Yep.
A perfect record. Your last fight was against Reece Barlow, is that right?
Correct.
How do you assess that last fight on your career path so far?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've been out of the ring for 18 months, a bit longer than that actually. So that inactivity, it was difficult, frustrating time for me. So I was very, very happy to be back in the ring. Big thanks to Frank Warren, Francis Warren, Queensbury Promotions for giving me that platform. Yeah, Reece, we didn't know what to expect from Reece Barlow. It's his debut. There was zero footage, history of him. We didn't know, most people making their debut, you expect them to be ambitious. So we expected a guy that's, going to come and bring his A game, apply some pressure. And from second one, he was on the back foot. I think I cut him above the eye with my second jab, and then he was in survival mode from then on out. And part of my boxing journey, we need to learn to be, a better closer. But I boxed very, very well, didn't make any mistakes, boxed clinically, won every round, every second of every round. So I was happy with my performance, happy to be back in the ring. I'm now just looking forward to the next one.
I suppose if one wants to be hypercritical, the only thing one could say is you didn't stop the opponent. And that's something you're thinking about? Or?
Yeah, you know what, funny enough, I think other people are more concerned than I am myself, because I know, I've within sparring and other places, I've hurt people, and stopping people is more, it's a mindset, it's an approach of me letting my hands go more, being more of a killer. But I've got this saying, and there's a lot of people out on the scene, other heavyweights, I don't need to mention any names, I call them journeyman executioners, and they're great at knocking over journeymen. They know how to get rid of, just about live bodies in front of them. And then when it comes to stepping up the gears into someone, who's credible, who can block a shot, who can counter a shot, they come unstuck. And you're not going to see that from me. So I might not be your most explosive, glamorous guy at getting rid of journeymen in 1 round, 30 seconds, bombing them out recklessly, but you will see as the levels go up, I'll dissect my opponents.
It's interesting to talk about your career. There's other interesting things about it. You've got that process where you're trained also by your father, coached by your dad. Other boxers have been in a similar situation, but does that pose any challenges or advantages or disadvantages?
I mean, no doubt every relationship has its, there's a context within that relationship, and I get a strength, a spiritual strength from my father. We've got that togetherness, that understanding. I mean, I'm my only child as well, so our bond is very, very strong. He knows me inside and out. We speak on a daily basis, outside of training sessions as well, so we've got an understanding of what it is we're trying to achieve. And this is boxing, things go wrong in fights. We have every scenario covered. If something happens, there's a mishap, we're on the same page. So that's definitely a strength. Difficulties, no doubt, because you've got that love, that connection. The relationship's more intense. So there's more, more care that goes into it, which again, there's a positive to that as well. So yeah, you know how it goes. There's been multiple father and son relationships, and some are incredibly successful, others not, and we want to be the first heavyweight duo to go and achieve world honours together. So, yeah.
You mentioned just before also that it was very important to get some rounds. You've been inactive for a bit, partly due to COVID, possibly other reasons. How are you going to keep yourself busy now?
Yeah, fortunately, as I said, the big thanks to my promotional label and my sponsors. I've been backed and looked after. It's been a very, very, very difficult period, like I said. Hugely frustrating for me. I did use that time wisely. I wasn't just sitting around, had top quality sparring, kept growing, kept improving. We don't want to plateau, that's the last thing we want to do. And yeah, now I've been given this foundation where I'm going to be fighting boxing regularly. So very, very happy with that. Should be out every 2 or 3 months, 4, 5, 6 times a year over the next 2 years, which will be great. And we've got our goals. We know where we want to be this time next year. By the end of this year, hopefully fight maybe for a Southern Area title. This time next year, Q4 of 2022, we want to be fighting for British honours. So, yeah.
When can the fans expect to see you out next?
We'll be out in October and we'll be out in December again. So back to back. Latest, if it's not December, January, but October 100%. That'll be followed up 2-3 months after.
Well, that'd be great. It would be wrong for me not to talk about some of your other training opportunities and processes that you go through. So I'm aware that you often train and go into camp with Tyson Fury. Yeah. How did that come about originally?
Originally it was when I was signed with Eshjam and Sam Jones. We had an opportunity there before Fury was fighting Wilder. In this rematch. I think Sam was, on speaking terms with Tyson, and I actually saw Tyson at a dinner show, a Warren show. I'm not sure exactly where it was. I think it was somewhere in Park Lane, and he said he'd bring me into camp next time. He had a big fight, so the call came. So I'd like you to come down as a 6'7" heavyweight. I mean, I don't fight like Wilder, but in terms of the length, the size, myself, Jordan Thompson, obviously you're familiar with. Got called up from this gym, went out there, great experience.
So you're in camp with Tyson. Mm-hmm. A lot of the people watching this video won't know what that means. So can you explain what being in camp with Tyson Fury, what it's like, what it involves, how it works, where it was? Sure.
I mean, the first camp we had was in Vegas. We were there for 10 weeks. So 10 weeks in Vegas is a long time. Great place to be. Again, we have sparring 2-3 times a week. Joining on runs, S&C work, that's strength and conditioning. So just being part of the whole process, whatever he does, we kind of mirroring, shadowing. Sugar Hill was very instrumental in that whole camp. Always, very, very kind man, genuine man, always offering advice, helping to nurture us. That Kronk style that has come through his bloodline, passing that on to us. So yeah, it's a great experience.
And what's the relationship like with Tyson?
Yeah, genuinely, a lot of, I find it funny, like through media, everyone has their perception or they make their projections of what they think someone is like. And this is the entertainment industry. Like, people have to remember that boxers, we're here, we love the sport, but you're here to get paid also. And you want to create, that buzz, sometimes controversy and things alike. But as a man, all I can say, genuine man, the kind of man like works on a handshake, throwback of a man. And yeah, very, very, very good person.
Excellent. So, are you going to be back in camp with Tyson?
I am. I went back to Morecambe actually end of last year, and he was supposed to have a fight, didn't materialise, and I'm going back up on Sunday for a few more weeks. So yeah, a few more rounds with him. Looking forward to it, seeing how I've progressed since the last time.
When you go into camp, obviously you watch for your progression. Is it excitement? Is it interest? Is it trepidation? What goes through your head?
It's a great assessment. I mean, you're talking about a guy who, is a WBC champion. In my eyes, the best heavyweight on the planet. So to test yourself, you're testing yourself against the best. So that barometer, there's nothing better than that, just to see where you're standing, exactly where you are. And I've been fortunate enough to, like I said, mix with some other top domestic talent, / world level, your Dillian Whites, Derek Chisoras and so forth. And it's a good measuring stick. And for me, because I've had this will be my third experience with Tyson, I can also see how I've come on, compared to the first time, the second time. So,
you said you see Tyson as the best heavyweight on the planet right now. What puts him in that category in your mind?
Yeah, I think, look, this is heavyweight boxing. On anyone's day, the top elite guys, like we know, let's not beat around the bush. AJ being the other, main name, extremely, powerful, explosive fighter, someone who's ever improving, learning fight by fight. So I'm not here to write anyone off. That's not my place. I'm not really bothered about, my opinion is my opinion. But in terms of what I've observed and what I've experienced firsthand, the distance control, the timing, the awkwardness, being hard to hit, he's head and shoulders above anyone that I've sparred with and seen. So that's all I can go off. And yeah, top fight, elite boxer. So
That's really interesting. It sort of leads us in, not necessarily chronologically,
yeah.
but factually, it was obviously a real shame that his team went down with COVID,
Sure.
and the fight got put off. How do you see, though, that the rematch, which is in October, between Fury and Wilder?
I mean, again, as I alluded to before, heavyweight boxing, one punch can end the show, so you can never be certain. However, I do believe that the transition that Wilder's trying to make, I think it takes a little bit longer, and you kind of would like to have an interim fight to practice, to show or display what you've done in the gym. And I am not convinced, I'm not here again to write anyone off, but I'm not convinced that you can make that transition without having a practical representation of it. So Malik Scott, it's a great technician, technical heavyweight, understands the game. I know Malik personally, respect him, high boxing IQ. He's trying to pass on his knowledge to Deontay and make him into a more cultured and rounded fighter. That's not reliant on that one punch. But for me, Tyson has the antidote for what Wilder has, and I would be very, very surprised if it's not another Fury win. Whether that's by a wide point decision or a stoppage, I don't know, but I would say Tyson Fury should win that fight.
Obviously, everyone was hoping for not everyone, but the fight fans were really looking forward to it being Fury v Joshua, not Fury v Wilder. From Tyson's perspective, does that play a part? Does he have a motivation? Does he have the motivation for
It's hard to be inside someone else's head. Like, Tyson knows what he feels, what he thinks. I can't tell you whether he has the motivation for that or not. I believe that he will do. It would be quite tiring to have to fight the same person 3 times, especially when you feel like we feel he won the first fight, he stopped him in the second, so it's a bit of a drag to have to do it over again. But on the flip side, on the reverse of that, he's proven that he can do it. So that will also, you'll also draw confidence from that. And with that AJ fight looming, that is a fight that is legacy, financially rewarding. It's a huge matchup. A historical clash between 2 British world champions, unification to be the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. So that doesn't come around often. So that's enough motivation for anyone. Whatever step that you have in the way, whatever hurdle that's in between you and that goal, I'm sure he'll take care of it.
And presumably, after this terrible COVID situation that was in the camp, everyone within the Fury camp is over that now.
I mean, I haven't heard any news myself, so I can't comment on that. I assume so because we're going into camp, so I'm sure everyone is back up on their feet, back to normal, so yeah.
You alluded, and I alluded, to the Joshua fight against Fury that we were all excited about, and then it didn't quite happen.
Yeah.
Joshua's also got a big fight coming up against Alexander Usyk on the 25th of September at Tottenham.
So let's not talk about Tottenham here. It's not.
Well, your dad's a big Spurs
Come from a
fan.
family, Tottenham. My dad's a Tottenham fan. My mother's a Tottenham fan.
And you?
I'm a Gooner at heart. True story. My dad took me to White Hart Lane as I think a 4-year-old or 5-year-old. He took me to watch to seduce me into being a Tottenham fan. I watched, saw what happened. Came home, genuinely, like, all my friends were Man United fans, growing up I was born in 92, all United fans. I came home, as a 5-year-old, I decided I was an Arsenal fan. Haven't looked back ever since. Starting to have some regrets now, but that's it. But yeah, in the Tottenham ground, AJ Usyk, you were saying.
How do you see that fight? How do you rate the fighters?
Yeah. I mean, Usyk is a, undisputed cruiserweight world champion. I don't want to be too harsh on him. I don't believe he's a heavyweight. I just don't. I've seen him have 2 fights. Not convincing in both. I think is it Witherspoon, Chaz Witherspoon in the first and Chisora in the second. And some people had Derek winning the second fight. Others had Usyk by a couple of rounds, but it was a close fight. I don't believe that Usyk has the size, the durability to deal with a proper heavyweight. And AJ is a concussive puncher. He's also, like I said, an improving fighter. Technically, fight on fight, he's getting better, cleaner, sharper. We've seen, obviously, I'm not comparing Usyk to Charles Martin, but a southpaw that, AJ has fought. He's got a great pullback right hand. I know he'll be looking for that that shot on fight night, and I just fancy AJ to stop Usyk. He may cause him some problems for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds, but at some point I do think that AJ will get to him and will hurt him.
So your prediction is a late-ish stoppage by Joshua.
Right, yeah.
That's interesting. As a boxer, though, you must rate Usyk.
You know, it's interesting because, like I said, I see myself. I'm a boxer. Like I'm a boxer, technical boxer. I'm not the biggest fan of Usyk's style. I'm not the biggest fan. I think a lot of people have sort of. Don't get me wrong. I'm not. He's a world-class fighter, but a lot of people are trying to sort of mimic him into some kind of MK2 of Lomachenko, but they're not the same. Lomachenko is very, very tied with everything he does. Usyk gets hit. He does get hit. He can be quite messy at times. I mean, he's more mobile than the normal heavyweight, and he is technically it's near enough sound, but he isn't. I don't think he's as clean and clinical as people try and make out. And I've seen him multiple times when he fought Bradis. Like I said, when he had the 2 heavyweight fights, and he does get hit when he fought Michael Hunter. So, yeah, I give him his props. Former, undisputed cruiserweight world champion, but for me, he'll come up short against.
I think he won the gold medal at heavyweight at the Olympics when Joshua won the super heavyweight gold medal.
Yeah, and I've also seen him fight Joe Joyce in the amateur scene, and obviously Joe Joyce has gone on to do good things himself, but Joe Joyce was tagging him with a lot of shots, and I just don't think he's as evasive as people make out. So
it'll be interesting to watch.
100%.
Any interview at this point in time on boxing, it would be amiss not to mention another big fight coming up this weekend.
Sure.
Pacquiao was supposed to be fighting Spence.
Yeah, shame.
Spence has had the eye injury following, I think, that horrendous accident that he was recovered from, and now he's fighting Ugas. First of all, a view on Spence. Do you think has he got a future, or now with this situation?
I feel for him massively. I haven't actually looked into it too much. I don't know if the retina injury was as a result of the car crash, if it's something that's happened in sparring, I'm not sure. No doubt that car incident wouldn't have been good for him. It's probably, some kind of long-term lasting damage. It's a shame. Huge talent. Already achieved a lot in boxing, but he had a lot of other gears to go into. I'm not here to write any man off. As I said, I don't know his powers of recovery, his faith, his perseverance. Maybe, God willing, he'll be blessed and granted with a full recovery so he can show the world what he's capable of. Like I said, I don't know if he'll come back. That is a tough injury. But we'll see. Yeah, we'll have to see about that.
And then going on to the fight, Pacquiao v Ugas.
Yeah, it's a great fight. I mean, I was really looking forward to Pacquiao Spence. The whole boxing world was a bit of a disappointment. But Ugas isn't a mug. He's very, very credible himself. It's a hard one because of Pacquiao's age. You'll sit down and think, you're like, he's too old now. Surely he's gonna slow down, or he's gonna hit a wall, and maybe this is a step too far. And then the other part of you thinks, but he fought Keith Thurman not long ago, and he fought this person and that person, and he beat them up, and he looked like the old Pacquiao. So it's hard to predict. I fancy Pacquiao to win. I don't know if that's just bias watching him growing up. Ugas is the fresher and younger man, but I think Pacquiao would have a bit too much for him. But I also wouldn't be surprised if Ugas won.
And in the pantheon of greats,
yep,
where does Pacquiao sit?
Yeah, he's someone that I feel like he doesn't get enough respect. I mean, I think he's a 7 or 8 weight world champion, something ridiculous like that, and he's fought from the age of 16 or whatever it is, all the way up until how old he is now, 40 odd.
And he's a senator now, don't
you? He has to be. He's up there with the greats of all time, 100%. I think it's hard. I've always had this debates because again, the context of the conversation, you have people from different times. It's hard to compare Sugar Ray Robinson and Muhammad Ali, and then going forward to Roy Jones and Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao and Duran, and anyway, we can reel off loads of names. Obviously, I've missed a load, but it's hard. It's all relative. But to me, there's a handful of greats. They should all be celebrated and respected. I don't need to sort of classify who's first, who's second. But yeah, he's up there with them.
In closing this interview, George, thanks so much for the generosity of your time. But give us one thing to look out for with George Fox, the future, for the next 12 months.
I'm going to be here. I'm going to be active. We want to take on all comers. I've got one fight in October. December we'll step up and hopefully fight for a title, like I said. And I've been seeing a lot of people, Babbage, Wardley, all these people, they're a step above me right now, I respect that, but I want everybody. I'm not here to hide from anyone. I want to fight those people. I know what I'm capable of. I've got that belief in myself, my team have that belief in me, and I know what I've done. And I see a lot of these people on the scene, and props to them. I'm not here to steal anyone's shine, to take away from them. They're going out there, they're doing a business. But I know that I'm better than a lot of these guys, and I will prove it. I don't need the public to give me that validation or this person to say, I'm the underdog, I'm the person with a lower profile, but I know what I'm capable of, and I will show that, and I will come one by one, and I will beat all of these people.
George Fox, thanks so much.
Thank you, sir.